Once a year, we travel north of the border to the land of the maple leaf. And this is the weekend where we rock up at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, just outside of Bowmanville, Ontario. This is a circuit that since 1961 has been challenging motorsport teams, drivers and riders, because it's not just four wheels but two wheels that Canadian Tire Motorsport Park has hosted down through the years. It's what you might call an old school circuit, and none the worse for that. Just under 2.5 miles around, just under 4 kilometres around, with 10 corners, notably Moss Corner, turn 5A and B, slowest corner on the circuit, slightly uphill in, slightly downhill and off camber out, and then the insanely quick turn 8-9 complex at the end of the Mario Andretti straight as you come through the S's and then somehow get the car back under control for the final right-hander at turn 10, White's Corner. That's the challenge for the Canadian Tire Motorsport 120, 2 hours of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindorf in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. Alongside me is Ryan Marine, and down in the pit lane, which is where we're heading now as our BDO pit lane reporter, is Arjuna Kankapati. Arjuna, first thing important, we lost a couple of cars coming to the grid before we started. Has everybody rolled out of the pit lane?
I'm glad to be the bearer of good news that all the cars that we know to be running in the race have left the pit lane. And if you're just joining us, those two cars, the CSM 16 GT4 Porsche, a bit too much damage for them to repair after an off at turn 4, so not going to see that car out on track, as well as the Victor Gonzalez Racing number 18. And so we're still not quite sure. I've got some detective work to try and figure out what happened to them once we get this race underway, but the field completing the first of its formation laps for this 2-hour sprint.
Yeah, there was a pretty late deal in that car being pulled from the grid, Ryan, so clearly something not quite right there with the GRT. We know that they're changing manufacturers next year. I don't think it's anything to do with that, but no Lance Bergstein in that number 18 car. That's who we were expecting to see on the grid, and that also of course means that John Miller, the Canadian driver, will not get a drive as well. Now, that said, with one casualty from each of the classes, that leaves us with 13 TCRs and 19 GS cars. Split start, probably just as well for the TCR cars, because the start of this lap is very TCR friendly.
It is, and the TCR cars have shown good pace. If you took the top 3 in TCR in qualifying and put them in the overall order, they would have started 6th, 7th, and 8th. Such is the speed in the front-running TCR machine. So I think everybody involved, from the GS back markers all the way to the front runners in TCR, are thrilled that they'll have a split start. They're not going to be so lucky, though, looking ahead to restarts in this race. Should we have any, everybody will be bunched up all together once again.
It's a warm welcome along to everybody, the whole community, as we are getting ready to go green next time around with 90.7 FM, our frequency around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, around the world on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of audio and visual channels. We've actually got two separate Corvette safety cars, or pace cars actually, as they are properly called now. There'll be a safety car if they come out during the race. They are splitting the field up. Pit stops, of course. That's why we have our eyes and ears of Arjuna Kankapati down in the pit lane, as the field of 19 GS class cars, which run to global GT4 regulations, come to the line. The revs will rise. The green flag is in the air, and the pole sitter Nate Cicero, Macumbi-Macaleer Racing in the Ford Mustang GT4 goes into the first corner with the blue car. Now here come the TCRs. It's a long hole, but the pole sitter Bryson Morris does get the jump from closest to the pit wall, and he heads down through the tricky turn one, but at this speed they'll be accelerating all the way through it. The GS cars already down at the bottom of Clayton Corner and climbing up through turn number 3. Clean start for both sets of cars at the moment, and that's a big tick in the box. We were hoping that we would get a nice clean start. We have done. Let's see them through Moss Corner for the first time. No tyre temperature, even in the warm conditions here. Air temperature 31 Celsius is 88 Fahrenheit, 91 on the track. That's 33 Celsius. And the whole field of GS cars, at least Ryan Marine, have got through Moss Corner for the first time.
I caught a glimpse of a little side-to-side contact about midway through the TCR pack. I think Celso Neto was one of the cars involved. I think it was a Brian Herta Autosport Hyundai as well. Just a puff of smoke as the bodywork and tires rubbed together, but it looked like both cars were able to continue on. One car that may have been in strife at the beginning, Ted Giovannis, was shown as in the pit lane. Now he's shown as out on track, so we'll have to see, but perhaps some issues here in the early going for the number 64. And the word is it started from the pit lane. Thanks to Arjuna for that update.
So battle for the lead out through turn number 1, and that trademark dark grey and bright green, actually matching the bright green on the outside of Clayton Corner. That sort of bright green colour just beyond the white line of the edge of the circuit, which if this was MotoGP or World Superbikes both in action this weekend, putting a wheel on that is a track limits violation. Those two cars battling on together. Mustang versus GT4 M4. And that's BMW. In fact, the first 3 cars, all front-engined. V8s with the Aston Martin, the multicoloured Aston Martin, sparkling in the sunshine for Paul Holton and Team TGM. We're going to have a 3-car battle for the lead any second now.
This is a heady moment here for young Nate Cicero, making just his second start in the championship. Problems for the 5. Down the order a little bit, that's William Talley, who's gone for a spin, I think, at Moss Corner, and now trying to get that car refired. But how about the youngster Cicero? Gets called in last minute to jump aboard that Mustang, puts the car on pole, and now already under immense pressure here in the opening couple of laps.
Paul Holton sets the fastest lap of the GS race in the Aston Martin Vantage that currently sits in 3rd position. Now, the remaining Victor Gonzalez racing machine of Eric Powell was right there with Dr. William Talley at the Moss Corner. Now, that can't convict him. I don't have the evidence of that. Race control may well be looking at that if there was contacts. So let's hope that there was no altercation there and we can continue to race. I think Dr. Talley has got going again. Yes, he has. So not even a yellow flag there at the moment. But our tracker shows him way down the field behind Ted Giovannis, who started from the pit lane in that number 64 Aston Martin. I should say IMSA, live timing rather, .IMSA. If you want to see what we've got in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre, our colleagues at Al Kamel provide us with a tracker, or the marching ants, the dancing ants, as Brian Till always calls them, and that shows at the moment that the leaders are coming in to the final corner, White's Corner, at the front of the field. The leaders in TCR beginning to catch the GS field, and Macumbi-Macaleer Racing, Nate Cicero now takes the fastest lap of the race, Ryan.
Builds that advantage up to a half a second, a little bit further back. Good start for the points leader in GS. Luca Mars picked up 2 spots on the opening lap and now has solidified in 6th, putting some pressure on Bryce Ward for a top 5 position. So that's exactly what the RS1 bunch needed. But now all eyes on this TCR battle because they have some GS traffic to contend with. And as we talked about, the front-running TCR cars are top 10 overall in terms of their pace here on the weekend.
Dean Baker for Baker Racing is the fastest car on the track, but we've had a couple of cars off the track at the bottom of the hill at Clayton Corner, and that is being looked at for track limits. The wastegate's chattering away, and already now the front of the TCR field, right behind David Hampton and AR Motorsports in that dark red Porsche Cayman, the GT4 Club Sport. Now that car is quick in a straight line, and that's where it has the advantage, but through the corners a well-driven TCR is as quick, if not quicker, than a GT4 car. It's been ever thus, going back down through the years. Now here's the fast part of the circuit. They're coming in now to turns 8 and 9, the S's. Just a little dab on the brakes by the TCR leader, Bryson Morris. Hampton right ahead of him. He's going to go up the inside, the right-hand side, into the final corner, and forcing through in second place, the Montreal Motorsport Group car of LP Montour. He's just about got through, and everybody else gets there as well. It had to be a bit of a dive down the inside by that white Honda, but LP Montour got it done as the door was being closed by David Hampton. He just sort of got his nose in there and made sure that the door stayed open just enough to get through, and that's crucial in that battle at the front of TCR.
Might have been a little nudge, but both cars carry on. No harm, no foul from where I'm sitting. Good job there by Montour to get through the traffic and now set off once more in pursuit of the leader, Bryson Morris. By the way, we do have confirmation from race control that there is an incident under review. We saw the 5 had spun. We wondered if the 99 might have been involved. Those are the 2 cars that are currently under review for race control for potential contact.
Now we have got the drive-through for the pit lane start. That is a standard penalty for Team TGM. That has been served already. Let's go down to our tuner, who has the James Vance with him, and that's an important co-driver. How's he feeling at the moment?
Oh, we were just chatting about how he lives about 30 minutes from the Canadian Town Motorsports Park, but an all-Canadian outfit that grew to 2 cars earlier this year, and 2 cars that are performing very strongly this weekend. How's it going, James?
Honestly, we're just so happy to be here in front of our home crowd. We're so grateful to be able to do what we love in front of everyone that we love, and that's what it's all about. Ultimately, we found some really good performance in these 52 and 56 Baker Racing Audis. You know, we've just been sticking to our program, not really worrying about what everyone else is doing, and more so just focusing on our own program, and yeah, it seems to be paying off. So yeah, chip away at it, and lap by lap, hopefully we'll get there.
And a relatively comfortable start, I'd say, even with the overlap of the GS and the TCR machines for your co-driver.
Yeah, Sam's been doing a great job all year. He's driving like a true pro and navigating traffic like he's been doing this for a decade. But ultimately, these IMSA races, they're all very similar how they start. So we're pretty used to it, pretty conditioned to it at this point. Just got to pick your moment and go.
How important is it to have a second team that now you can feed off data, work together, and just maybe do some different things and work together?
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding. You know, the first race, it was a bit of a teething pain type of deal where we were kind of working out how to run 2 cars. But after walk-ins, we put our heads down, figured out where we needed to work on, and we did that. We came back to CTMP, and now we're, I would say, the team to beat.
Thanks. Best of luck for the rest of the race.
Cheers.
That incident between Victor Gonzalez Racing, Eric Powell, and Dr. William Talley, KMW Motorsports, has been reviewed. That was up at turn 5, saw the black and gold Honda facing the wrong direction. But now that car is moving again, and KMW then will tally back in the race. No further action, inconclusive for that. So at the front of the field then, let's get back to the action. As Nate Cicero, what a job he's done. Late call in to the race. He's got 0.8 of a second gap, puts his best lap of the race in by about a 10th quicker than the chasing Sean McAllister for Car Barn with Peregrine. BMW M4 GT4 Evo. Still LP Montour. It is LP Montour leading now in TCR. What's happened to Bryson Morris? Whilst we were talking to our pit lane reporter, he's dropped back into the clutches of Precision Racing's Thelfo Neto, has he? As The battles go on further back down the field, with the number 99 of Eric Powell now challenging Preston Brown for 7th position, Ryan.
Yeah, we just got a brief glimpse of it on our monitors, but it was a really nice move by Montour around the outside. It all started at the end of the Mario Andretti straightaway, 8 and 9. That's where he got alongside and completed the pass through White's corner onto the pit straight, and it looked like Sam Baker was able to follow him on through. So those two now run 1-2. It's Honda leading Audi, leading Hyundai, as Bryson Morris has slipped back, to your point, into the clutches of Celso Neto, who's closed in here as of late and continues a strong run of form. He picked up a couple of spots in the early going and has been able to hold on to them ever since, as Powell just put a move on Preston Brown. That was for position.
Still an hour and 49 minutes to go. Pit stops to come. Green flag racing so far. 11 minutes elapsed. VGRT, that red, white and black Hyundai then making up that position, and now into 7th for Preston Brown. He's got a bit of a gap now, 6 seconds to the top half dozen. Baker Racing and Dean Baker will be his next target. Meantime, going through the first corner. What a run for Nate Cicero in that blue with black striped Ford Mustang GT4, plunging down through Clayton Corner, turn number 2. Then a little short straight, balance the car, uphill through turn 3. Don't want to catch too much of the inside curb there, unsettles the car all the way to the left-hand side at the Quebec Corner, turn 3. And then back down the hill again, car bottoming out through turn 4. Settle the car down, use the hill to help you slow down for 5A and 5B, which is Moss Corner. And then get on the power as soon as you can, because half a mile an hour or a mile an hour coming out of that Moss complex is going to translate to turn 8, which is a long run down the Mario Andretti straight, which is not straight. It's got 2 right-hand kinks in it, but you do not lift, you do not brake. So you are gathering speed, gathering velocity, gathering momentum all the way to turn number 8. Ibiza Farm with their fabulous livery on the McLaren Artura GT4, currently 4th position, and Bryce Ward hanging on there to Moise Uretsky. Bryce Ward's been having some good runs lately, particularly good run until he had an off at that was at Mid-Ohio, but kept his cool, got the car back going again and came back to a brilliant result. And now he's right on the tail of Moise Uretsky. This is a good run again by Bryce Ward. Not in the first flush of youth, he won't mind me telling you that, but he's driving as good as ever before, and he's loving his motor racing, Ryan.
Every time we talk to him, even if it's not on camera or even if it's just for the radio audience, you can hear the smile on his face. That's how much he's loving this. His driving, running the team, the Windward team, so busy in multiple championships all around the world representing Mercedes. And great for Bryce to get a chance to enjoy the fruits of his labors as well behind the wheel, where I think you're exactly right. He's in as good a form right now as he's ever been, holding down a spot inside the top 5 and knowing that he's up his sleeve is the hometown kid, right? Daniel Morad, who I'm sure is just pacing around, waiting impatiently to get behind the wheel of this Mercedes and pilot it around a track that he grew up coming to, a track he grew up racing on as well.
And to be fair, quite a lot of these bronze drivers, the basic time, the mandated time they've got to do is 40 minutes, but we often see them doing longer because they are doing so well, and strategically it makes sense to leave them in the car, and that's what's been happening. A little bit of bumping and boring going on in the TCR field, but no harm, no foul, as the lead has changed again, and Sam Baker now at the head of the field as LP Montour being held up behind Vin Barletta and Chris Miller and Gordon Scully, who are all battling for 13th, 14th and 15th in the overall, as the TCR leaders now in their part of the track. Oh, that's a lovely move in the inside of Quebec Corner for the TCR leader. Sam Baker goes past the BMW of Turner Motorsport and Vin Barletta. Second place TCR is going to try and go through round the outside as well, and LP Montour does that. Really important that he keeps that blue and silver Audi in sight as they come out of Moss Corner. Now what's going to happen? Ahead of them, Chris Miller is going side by side with Gordon Scully. No, that in fact is the 64 car, isn't it, of Ted Giovannis, who's right in the mix there as well, who's had to do a drive-through as well as start from the pit lane. We'll keep our eyes on that. A moment or two ago, we were talking about Bryce Ward. He's just lost a position to the championship leaders who started in 8th. Luke Amar's now up to 5th, Bryce Ward down to 6th. Here's his co-driver with Arjuna in the pits.
And Daniel Morad enjoying being back home, so much so that he's got a merch tent set up in the fan zone for anyone that wants to swing by and pick up some Moradness gear. But Daniel, you and I were just talking, maybe some fuel saving going on right now behind the 44 McLaren.
Yeah, well, first of all, I heard that I was pacing around. I was sitting, in fact, okay, just want to clarify that. But it is cool. I have so many friends and family here this weekend. It really means a lot being here at home at CTMP. Right now, we've already gotten a lot further than we have in the last 2 years. A lot of the focus has been on keeping the car clean and just making it to the pit stop. We have a great team with Windward, great car with Mercedes-AMG, and the performance this weekend has been good. So let's just try to make it to that pit stop, see if we can be a bit more patient than in Watkins Glen. That was my mistake back then, and we'll try to get as many points as possible. But it's so much fun here and love racing at home.
And that's one thing at Watkins you and I were actually talking about, right? The fact that you took the responsibility for putting yourself in a bad position coming up to the bus stop. But you and I also talked about at Laguna Seca how, you know, sometimes you put yourself in situations and you can't always decide where they're going to go, especially at a high-speed track like this.
Yeah, and this is the fastest track on the schedule. If anyone didn't know, I don't know if it's still a fact, but this is the 4th fastest circuit in the world for average lap speed, supposedly. I'm not sure if that still stands, but it is a fast track and by far the fastest on the schedule for IMSA. And yeah, keeping the car in one piece is the most important. This race has been attrition filled in the past, and so far everyone's been behaving themselves. But you know, I'm very excited to get my chance in the car. It's always such a pleasure to drive this track. It's so fast and flowing. I take it for granted personally because it's my home track, but it is a lot of fun. And just to touch on what you said about Watkins, I spoke to Robin about it. I apologized to him. It really was, in my opinion, a racing incident. We both agreed that. But I put myself in a bad spot and I should have backed out. So I learned my lesson, and next time we'll make that a little bit cleaner.
Let's talk about strategy again quickly, because I asked you about fuel saving. How close, how marginal is it to make the hour with these GT4 machines?
Yeah, it's tough. Like, I think most guys, I can't really speak for every manufacturer, but we're right on the cusp of making it to the halfway point if we save some fuel. But we have to see how this race pans out, because in the past with the old Bryce Ward, we would just pit at the 40-minute mark and try to get me in the car. But Bryce is absolutely crushing it right now, and a huge thank you to our sim racing team. And I know you've come from the sim racing world as well, but the Moradness M Squad has been helping us so much prepare for these events. And we simulate every kind of situation where we just have bonsai passes, which is a lot of fun because we get to drive like complete children on the sim. I'm not going to say any bad words, but it is a lot of fun. We try to prepare Bryce for any situation in every situation, and it seems like it's paid off, at least on that first lap. So yeah, long way to go, but yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to go in the car.
It's great to hear that the amateur driver's gone from just completing their minimum drive time to wanting to go a bit beyond that. Great to catch up, Daniel. Best of luck.
And the funny thing is, Bryce is now giving me chirps. Anytime he's faster than me in a sector, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing out there?" And it's a lot of fun. You know, the banter that we have between us, the relationship is amazing, and I'm actually having so much fun with this team.
Great, go enjoy it.
Bryce Ward with Scott Dixon's race boots on today. If you watched the last IndyCar race at Mid-Ohio, you'll know exactly what I meant. Dixie is the absolute king and has been for years of fuel save. Little bit of lift and coast maybe for Bryce Ward, then getting him through to a pit stop in round about 40 minutes time. So nice and clean to start with. 20 minutes gone. Here's how they stand. McCumbee McAleer Racing, Ford Mustang, Nate Cicero from pole. Now 1.8 seconds to the good. And then 4 seconds back from Sean McAllister in the BMW. In second for Carbon is the Team TGM multicoloured Aston Martin. Then it's another 6 seconds back from Paul Holton in that Aston, number 46, to another multicoloured car, the Ibiza 4 Motorsports, lower, sleeker. Can't see it when it's parked up behind one of the other GT cars. That is the McLaren of Moise Areski. And then RSI steaming up, and from 8th up to 5th now for the 28 RS1 Porsche. And Luca Mars, he's just past Windward Racing and Bryce Ward, who's staying with him and staying ahead of Bob McCallion, who's having a good run as well for Core Motorsport in the GT4. He's just another 3 seconds, 3/10 of a second back, and Dylan McAvern's there as well. And that's your top 8 in GS. In TCR, Sam Baker and LP Montour having their scrap as they come through to the back of the top 10 in the overalls. They're in 12th and 13th now. Nikita Lastochin in the CSM Porsche will be their next target. He's 3 seconds up the road. Then there's 3 GS cars. Then Bryson Morris, who was our pole sitter, with Thelthor Neto for precision in the Audi in 4th. Harry Gottsacker, the championship leader, in 5th in the 98 Hyundai. And Dean Baker for Baker Racing, the number 56 car, who was basically the 2 Baker boys are bracketing the top half dozen, and we have an hour and 38 minutes to go. Good racing right through the field here, Ryan.
Yeah, this is in the mid-pack that we've got our eyes on at the moment, with Bob McCallion mixing it up with Dylan McAvern, Austin Crines right there, as is Sean Quinlan as well. It's a really good battle pack. It starts with Luca Mars in the 5th spot, and you also have to throw Bryce Ward into that conversation. I think you made a great call that, yes, Luca might have got by Bryce, but he's not pulling away by any stretch of the imagination. No. Bryce is hanging in the tire tracks of the championship leader and one of the breakout stars of the season so far.
Yeah, Luca Mars, who's come through the IMSA ranks in some of the single main championships, the manufacturer championships. He has proved his worth. He's learned his craft. Still a very young driver and proving his racecraft. But when you've come through things like Wayland Mazda MX-5, and we've got a race of that later on this afternoon after IMSA WeatherTech qualifying, all live for you here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV, with no subscriptions required. Hopefully you'll stay with us through the late afternoon and early evening if you're in Europe and the UK. Just coming up to 10 to 2 at CTMP here. Still lots of action for you on this Super Saturday. Nate Cicero has pulled the pin. Takes another half a second out of Sean McAllister last time around. 2.8 seconds ahead. And then this battle. Luca Mars, championship leading RS1, the red, white and black number 21, taking a much wider entry into the second part of Moss Corner than Bryce Ward, but Bryce driving a very tidy line in that AMG with Bob McCallion and the Core Mustang behind him. That's another red, white and dark grey coloured car. Then the yellow and blue. Well, yellow and blue can only be Turner Motorsport, and indeed it is. It's Dylan McAvern. And these 3 scrapping it out now as McAvern tries the long way around from turn 8 to turn 9. That's a great manoeuvre. Now has to block pass into the final corner, but he's got it done nicely. And Austin Krantz is just sitting in behind in the other BMW. That's the white, black and gold cars. They cross the line. Brilliant piece of overtaking, clean as you like. Great racing, great respect from Bob McCallion and the new 7th place driver, Dylan McAvern.
Outstanding. It's not like Bob even made a big mistake or anything. He just left the door cracked open, and McAvern didn't need a second invitation. Threw that car to the inside, and then the 2 really respectful, like you say, gave each other enough room at apex to make it happen, and then the track bent around the other direction where McAvern found himself on the inside and was able to complete the pass up 1 more spot.
Leader now into traffic, William Talley, Dr. William Talley, who had that spin, tipped into a spin, we believe, earlier on, but no sanction taken, no conclusive evidence for race control to make that call. So the race continuing, will tally in 13th position in TCR with a bit of ground to make up. Might just force KMW Motorsport into a little bit of a funky strategy. We've seen them do it before. We have our 2 Michelin moments of the race to identify in the next hour and a half or thereabouts, one in GS and one in TCR. That could be an outstanding pass. But I tell you what, that pass from Dylan McAvern is already in the conversation for that one. That was an awesome manoeuvre. Could be a good call from the pit lane and some tricky strategy. We'll keep our eyes on that and let you know who takes home the Michelin moment of the race for GS and TCR before the end of this Michelin Pilot Challenge, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park 120. So the first little potential stumbling block, Ryan, for the leader, Nate Cicero, has been negotiated, and his lead is unaffected at 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, he's done a nice job on this stint to pull clear. Super consistent as well. The first 4 or 5 laps, he was running within thousandths of a second of one another, and then his drop-off has been negligible. We really haven't seen the pace fall away at all, hardly, on that Mustang. Only a few tenths of a second slower now than he was running earlier when he's not in traffic, whereas we've seen the rest of the field drop off quite a bit more. My question about that Mustang, though, would be fuel consumption. Is he saving anything? Because we've heard it's marginal to do this on one stop.
Yes, good point. You have to have a strategy before the race if you are going, before the stint, should I say, if you are going to fuel save. You can't do it in the last 15 minutes of the stint. Now this is interesting. In has come Dylan McAvern for Turner Motorsport. This is 27 minutes down, so nowhere near enough time up. That's a right rear puncture, I think. Just one tyre going on the Liqui Moly Turner Motorsport machine. But what they're going to do here is brim fill that car with VP Racing fuel and send it. And then they have got a huge tactical window now for that car. If we stay green, they'll have to play the tactical card later, Ryan. But if there's a yellow, this could yet come back to that number 95 Turner BMW.
Yeah, it could. They're going to try and make the most of this. Definitely not on schedule. I agree that had all the makings of a puncture, but quick pit work by the Turner team. And one thing to their advantage is this is not a very long pit lane at all. It's only a 23-second transit time, pit in to pit out. So hopefully that doesn't set them back too far, and this is something they can rebound from if the yellows fall their way. We'll keep an eye on that for the Turner team.
Right, while we're in a relatively quiet part of the race, let's head down to the team who have most recently stood in victory lane for TCR in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. That is Montreal Motorsport Group. They sit in second at the moment with their starting driver, LP Monteau, who qualified the car. They are both very proud Canadians, and Carl Whitmer is ready to talk to Arjuna.
And it sounds like MMG very, very happy where they sit right now, sat behind the leaders, but with a big gap behind. Carl, this is going according to the script?
It is, yes. Main factor here today with the heat is going to be fuel saving, so we do have the pace to lead. The Audi is quite fast. The Baker boys are, they live right up the street, so we opted to draft and save fuel. Our cars can only do 56 minutes on fuel full pace, so we got to save that 4 minutes somehow.
And that's something that I love that you're mentioning, because we've talked about TCR often being more tire limited with the drive and the steering going through the front. So 4 minutes, is that a lot of fuel to save? Because it's almost 3.5, 4 laps, isn't it?
It is quite a bit, and luckily for us, we found a good setup where we run it quite loose, so the tire deck isn't too high for us. So our main focus is going to be fuel. Plan is that I go in with 58 minutes remaining, so I don't have to save too much, and just attack to the front.
I know you ran here well last year. You've been running, I think this car's been running great this year overall. is it nice to be back home and to get the qualifying result done and then just be able to drive into the race knowing you've got a good car behind you?
It is. It's always great to be back here. The fans are great. You know, Canada's underrated when it comes to motorsports fans. So really glad that the team put a package together. MMG, YAS, HRC have done such a good job. LP is just doing a killer stint right now. So we're just going to put it all together, hopefully execute, and then, you know, walk away with something.
And hopefully make it to the other side of the hour. Best of luck, Carl.
Thank you. Thank you.
Canadian sports fans in any sport are pretty vocal and pretty passionate. One of the things I love about being north of the border. And by the way, take a bow. Our BDO pit lane reporter, Arjuna Kankabadi, I don't know what kind of truth serum he's spraying on these drivers, but when have we ever had such detailed tyre and fuel information, Ryan Marine, in any form of motorsport this early on in the piece? That's extraordinary stuff.
It was remarkably transparent, but that's what you get when you talk to one of the Whitmers, isn't it? That family's been in this game for a long time, and good people for sure, no matter which one you're talking to. Good talent behind the wheel, and great insight there to give us some notion of what they're dealing with. Their cards are very much on the table at this stage, so we'll see what happens there. Meanwhile, in GS, should note that Bob McCallion just made his way around Bryce Ward here recently, so that's dropped Bryce down to 7th, and Austin Crines was kind of lining him up, trying to make a move there as well, fighting now in the back half of the top 10, with Nate Cicero still holding a pretty solid lead, 3.7 seconds to the good.
Still think that Bryce Ward is doing a good job in terms of hanging on. He has 9 minutes to go if he comes in with 40 to go. I suspect he'll stay out there. He's only 24 seconds off the lead. Turner Motorsport pulling the trigger early for a pit stop, which we believe was forced upon them with a right rear puncture. Certainly they changed that Michelin tyre, and they are back out now, fighting their way through. But if we know anything at all about Will Turner and that group, is that they will make something positive out of that necessity. Their first set of strategical calculations will have been, figuratively speaking, ripped up and thrown away. There'll be a new spreadsheet on the computer right now. It has, in some ways, opened up their tactical window because they can go deeper into the race now. Not quite all the way to 40 minutes to go, but they would want to do that. But they can now leave Dylan McIvern in that car. His lap times have been good, 24.475. Is competitive. They can leave him in the car, wait for everybody else to make green flag pit stops, and roll the dice from that moment on. In TCR, Sam Baker and LP Monto. LP in the draft, saving a bit of VP Racing fuel there. Third, Bryson Morris, our pole sitter. Fourth, Thelfon Neto. And then Harry Gottsacker in the number 98, the works-coloured Hyundai. He's in 5th position with Dean Baker for Baker Racing in the Audi RS3 in 6th. Those cars fighting their way through at the moment, and they've got just ahead of them the Frank Depew-driven Rebel Rock Racing Aston Martin Vantage. Frank will want to stay on the lead lap of TCR, so he will try and keep ahead, the lead lap of GS. He'll want to keep ahead of this little gaggle of front-wheel drive machinery alongside them. They've got Vin Barletta to go through as well. He stays to the left-hand side in the yellow and blue Turner BMW as that horde of TCR front-wheel drive Hornets go through. "34 minutes to go." There'll be all kinds of calculations going on here, Ryan, as this battling continues between the TCRs, and we're not even talking about the very back of the GS field now. We're into almost halfway up the field for Sam Baker and LP Monto. In fact, yes, they are. They are in 10th and 11th position, but at the front now with 3.5 seconds. This has been a driving masterclass so far for Macumbi Makalia Racing, for Ford Mustang GT4, and particularly for the wheelman, Nate Cicero, making off like a getaway driver at the moment, Ryan.
I'm just waiting to see when the strategy drops here, where they shake out, because could they be saving enough fuel and still running at this pace to make it to the halfway mark and make this on one stop? That's a big question mark. We got some reports that the Ibiza Farm Motorsports crew could be preparing for a pit stop, so maybe they're locked into a 2-stop strategy. Oh, and further back, some mixed class traffic having some problems. TCR and GS coming together, and a couple of cars go off track.
That was the Baker car that was coming through forcefully, the number 56 car in 6th position, and the recovering Turner Motorsport number 96 going the long way back to get on the circuit without causing any problems. So that's further issues for Vin Barletta and Turner Motorsport. Remember, that car down the field, that isn't the car that made the pit stop. That is Dylan McAvern. So that is Vin Barletta, and he's dropped down to 22nd and 15th in class. Arjuna with a BDO pit lane report.
We are nearing drive time completion for the starting drivers, and so second drivers are getting their helmets strapped on, and the crews are loading the fuel canisters up and getting their tires prepared. My expectation, though, is, John, that we will not see pit stops unless there is a caution that comes out and these drivers are just getting themselves ready to jump in if that yellow flag gets deployed.
Hello to Stephen Gardner, who is at turn 5, eating his sandwiches. Somewhere behind him is at Bright Blue Stang, another one of the Radio Show Limited IMSA Radio Collective. Hopefully you two can get together. Stephen, BBS as well. 90.7 FM around the circuit, RS2 around the world, at IMSA Radio on the platform formerly known as Twitter. And we are just 2 minutes away from drive time having been completed for the starting drivers. If your driver is doing all right, and I would suggest Nate Cicero, Sean McAllister, Paul Holton, Moise Uretsky, and probably Luca Mars fall into this category, then I leave them in right now, don't you, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're not losing too much time. As long as you can stay on that lead lap, I think that's the crucial element of this. If you can do that, then a yellow brings you right back into the mix once you've made that pit stop and you're not incurring an additional stop. In the meantime, a penalty has been assessed to Dean Baker. This is the team car to the race leader for that contact with Vin Barletta, the 56, the Dean Baker car, adjudged to be at fault for that contact that spun Barletta around, and will have to serve a drive-through penalty.
There's a sort of an irony there, not that he got the penalty, because he was forcefully coming up the inside to the apex at the final corner, White's corner, and spun round the number 96 BMW. The drivers' meeting is always, now, those of you in the faster cars, make sure, you guys in the GS cars, make sure you make your passes nice and cleanly. That was a TCR car passing a GS car, but they clearly had the pace there. And Dean Baker did not want to lose ground on Harry Gottsacker and Thelfo Neto and Bryson Morris in that scrap. Well, he's going to lose plenty now, because that risk versus reward has gone very much on the risk side of things. And meantime, a moment or two ago, Eric Rockwell in the red, yellow and black number 10 RAD, Rockwell Auto Developments TCR Audi, has gone for a little rotation. He's pointing in the right direction as Dean Baker heads to the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty. Now, the time that he has in the pit lane for this penalty does not count to his drive time. So when he comes out, his drive time essentially will show 40 minutes completed, but you've got to take out that, what was it you said, Ryan, 23 seconds transit time?
Yes. Yeah, just about 23 seconds is the number that we were given if you're at the pit speed limiter the whole way.
So another lap then before, if they want to, they can bring that Dean Baker car in. Drops out of 6th position. Having said that, he's come out. I don't think he's dropped any further positions. I think he's only gone down to 7th with Eric Powell in the number 99 Victor Gonzalez Racing Team, having got by him. Now 39.59, 39.40. Expect to see the early cars. If you're at the back of the field, maybe it's worth a little punt here. And in from the back of the from the back of the GS cars is Rebel Rock Racing, right on the 40 minutes. I reckon that's spot on, maybe 40 minutes and 10 or 12 seconds. Frank Depew on his way to you, Arjuna.
It's going to be a 4-tire stop and driver change as expected, and following them in comes the Unitronic JDC Miller machine as Chris Miller and Mikey Taylor swap around as well. Robbie Foley's going to jump into the 96 Turner Motorsports BMW, replacing Vin Barletta. Relatively tidy stop so far from Rebel Rock as they try and work through all 4 of the Michelin tires, and also call out the 14 AR Motorsports rejoining us for this round at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park down on pit lane as well. And I think, John, you were right. These are teams that have maybe not had the easiest of starts to the race, but they're positioning themselves such that they will be in the right place at the right time if anything goes wrong. Great stop from the 71, off and away for them.
And ahead of the Porsche, they were having a look at the left rear caliper and suspension arm. There's been a bit of damage. There's some scuff marks on the left rear corner and the left rear guard on that Unitronics car. So out of the pits, those are the first pit stoppers. They cannot get to the checkered flag on the VP fuel they have on board right now. So there will have to be some jiggery, some pokery, or an additional stop, as in comes one of the Astons from TGM. I presume that was Ted Giovannis. Yes, it was. He's already dropped off the lead lap, having started in the pit lane and then had to do the drive-through. Also in, Austin Kreitz, and Stephen McAleer will be taking the blue, gold and white BMW over. Now, what about Bryce Ward, sitting in 8th position? He's at Moss Corner. He can come in at the end of this lap. So can any of the top cars. They're staying out at the moment. Sam Baker, and LP Montour now both inside the top 10 overall, and only 45 seconds away from the lead. Quite extraordinary that they are at the sharp end of the field. And just a moment or two ago, Bryce Ward, that's how he lost the position at turn 5. Little bit of a swapper on, really important to get the power on early, but he just managed to unsettle the rear Michelin tyres. Slight grassy moment and back on. Here's Ibiza Farm Motorsports into the pit lane, out for Moisey Aretsky. And that was nice and smooth. You don't have to rush here. The determining factor for Michael Cooper getting bolted in is going to be the fuel. You should be able to do the 4 wheels of Michelin tyres within the time that it takes to put even the amount of fuel. That's not a full fuel tank that's going in. It won't be far away at 40 minutes, but he's probably got 10, maybe 12 minutes more fuel in that tank, maybe a tad more than that. So it was still the last thing, and if the fuel hose is the last thing that comes out, Ryan Marine, then that's a good pit stop.
Yeah, that's really what you want to be limited by. Everything else, if you can get it done as you're waiting on the fuel, then you've executed as well as you can. The fuel flow is not something that you control. That's part of the homologation, part of the BOP as well, to even out these cars on track as well as in the pit lane. So these cars that are pitting here, they're locking themselves into a 2-stop strategy. And I think for the Ibiza Farms car, for instance, that was running in pretty good position. My guess is that they just told Moisey Uretsky, you know what, don't worry about saving fuel, just push, push, push. Sometimes that's a little bit easier for a bronze-graded driver to do, not worry about a fuel number, but just worry about hitting his marks. And now they can rely on the rapid Michael Cooper here for more drive time than the other lineups will be relying on their stronger driver. That's what they're going to hope will help make up the deficit of an additional pit stop. That or the timing of a yellow also could really fall into their hands.
Hello to Marcus Miller, who's tuned in, watching and listening in Dublin in Ireland. Been really warm in Europe recently, about the same sort of temperature. 31 Celsius in the air, is 88 Fahrenheit. Robert Liddell, by the way, in his first flying lap in the Rebel Rock Racing Aston Martin Vantage, despite being full of fuel, has just reset the fastest lap of the GS race. And overall, a 1:23.626. He's in 27th, 14th position overall. And I reckon at the moment he is 5th of the... Oh no, check that. He is 3rd of the GS cars that has pitted. So keep an eye on that number, as the green flag pit stops, should they come, will elevate him through the TCR field. His problem now is he's going to catch up with the back of the TCR field pretty quickly. Stephen McAlee has just put in a 24.2 as well. That was the Autotechnic Racing BMW's fastest lap of the race. That's the white, black and gold car, white, navy blue and gold car. He's in 12th in GS at the moment, 22nd overall. They are off the lead lap, but barely. And of course, the leaders are yet to stop. They could get on the wrong side of a safety car. Hello to Alan Space and to Stephen Gardner. And they're saying hello to Marcus Miller. Marcus not at the track, but Stephen Gardner and Alan having a little mini collective meet-up there at turn 5. Hands across the water kind of thing going on. Enjoy the rest of Super Saturday and hope you're sticking around for our Sunday extravaganza as well. Still an hour and 13 and a half minutes to go. 1 hour 13:22, 21:20, 19:18 to go. And the top 7 are still GS cars, and they still owe us their first pit stop. They're going long into this race. McCumbee McAleer Racing, next Cicero, number 13 from pole, leads by a decreased margin though now, Ryan. It's down to 1.5 seconds. That is almost halved. In fact, it has halved since we were last talking about it. And Paul Holton for Team TGM's only another 2.6 seconds further back. The top 3 within 4 seconds as we come round towards their pit stops.
Still super close, like you say, amongst that top 3, and interesting to see that McAllister now has found some pace here late in the run. Makes you wonder if maybe he was doing some fuel save early in the stint, and now they've turned him loose a little bit. And just a moment ago, we saw a meaningful pass in the TCR class from a championship perspective. Your points leader, Harry Gottsacker, got around Celso Neto, so that was a change for 4th and 5th. Move Gottsacker up a spot.
Let's check in with some of the starting drivers from TCR before we start the GS pit stops. Here's Arjuna with a BDO pit lane report.
A very sweaty Moise Uretsky jumps out of the car, but flying in that first stint and now handed over to the teammate. How's the balance feeling?
Yeah, I mean, the car was really good. The team did a great job setting it up. We did really well in qualifying in 4th. It's just a really hot race out there. This track gives you no time to breathe, so you know, no matter how hot it is outside, it's hotter inside the car because you really have to push every lap, and it's just easy to make a mistake.
Ibiza Farm Motorsports, but you're also enjoying life outside of the racetrack, and you and I were just talking about Ibiza Farm Fitness. How much has all of your physical training helped you for this sort of an experience behind the wheel?
Oh my goodness, I mean, it definitely helps. I mean, every extra pound you're not carrying around is definitely helpful. You definitely have to be fit inside the race car. There's a lot of G-forces. The brake pedal is actually quite heavy, so absolutely highly recommend it. Ibiza Farm Fitness, check it out. I think everybody should just get in shape, feel great, and most importantly, if you feel great and look great, you're actually much better emotionally as well.
So obviously you knew coming in at this point that you weren't going to be able to make it to the end. You and I were talking about what that meant. Right now it's still a bit up in the air as to whether we see a caution or it goes green to the end, I guess.
I mean, you know, you never know. I think the way everybody's running right now, it could stay green all the way through. We'll see what happens when all the driver changes cycle through, but right now everybody's driving really clean, really smart, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is just an endurance race of just a bunch of G-forces at a really fast, fun track, and it just stays green for 2 hours. That should be very exciting.
And let's not forget, John, that we did have one race go caution-free earlier this year at Sebring. Wouldn't be the first time in 2025.
No, indeed not. Moise Uretsky out of the GS, sorry, I said TCR runners, but the GS running Ibiza Farm Motorsport McLaren. As the pit stops continue through the pit lane for the Ted Giovannis driven number 46. Sorry, no, that is Paul Holton from third position. My apologies, those cars very similar, except for the big number 46 on this one, whereas at 64 on the other one. Matt Plum, one of the most experienced drivers in this category of IMSA racing, he is being bolted in. So that's the highest ranking car that's come in. That was pretty much on 50 minutes elapsed, Ryan.
Yes, so again, too soon to do this in one stop without a ton of yellow to help them out. If we were hearing it was marginal to go an hour, they are well short of that at this point. So that tells me that they saw a fuel number that they weren't confident they could hit to try and do it in the hour, and now they're going to focus on trying to do it in the two stops instead. And again, what that lets you do is it lets you push through two stints and not have to worry about trying to save fuel and just focus on getting the lap time out of the cars. We'll see how it shakes out here. Still a lot of time to get this all sorted out here, 69 minutes on the clock.
The 8th running Preston Brown driven Hyundai Elantra, Brian Herder Autosport, and Michael Cooper, who I guess was just going back through there, having taken over the Ibiza Farm Motorsport McLaren, have had it coming together, and that's being looked at in race control as we speak. That would not be good news for either of those cars, whichever way it goes. It doesn't sound good. Preston's not made his pit stop yet, but as I mentioned, the Michael Cooper car has, and is sitting, I reckon he's going to be sitting third of the cars that have made it stop. Just depends where Matt Plum comes back out. I think he's going to come out towards the bottom end of the top 10 for that TGM car. He went in third position, and he's just been passed by Bryson Morrow. Oh no, he's going to be further down than that. So now this is interesting. I'm really interested to see how far he drops back, because he was in third place, 4 seconds away from the leader, and he's dropped to 1:17 back from the leader. Call it 1:18. It was 1:17.8. So he is now the leading car that has made it stop in GS. In TCR, none of the top 6 have stopped. The first car through the pit lane was Dean Baker, but that wasn't a stop, remember, that was a drive-through. If you're watching the Al Kamel scoring on live timing at IMSA. Now, there's a problem with something being dragged along behind one of the Hyundais at the moment. Now, if you're old enough, you might remember cassette tapes in cars, and sometimes if somebody had dumped one of those on the road, you would pick it up and it would be like a streamer behind you. That's kind of what it looks like. 1/8 of an inch tape, not even quarter inch tape, I suppose it would have been. That's incredible on the right-hand side of that machine. Into the pit lane for RS1. Let's have a BD pit lane report as the TCRs are starting to come in now, and MMG is in as well from second place. Here's Arjuna.
Looks like a good stop for RS1 as Jan Halen jumps in, replaces Luca Mars. And yeah, we were talking to Carl Whitmer, and he was saying 56 minutes, that's about what they had in fuel, and they don't feel confident enough to go to the top of the hour. And so driver change as LP Montour jumps out after a very, very impressive opening stint in that number 93. As we'd expect as well in these touring cars, it's front wheels only, front Michelin's only being changed for the 93, and so now just waiting for the fuel as it goes off of the air jacks. RS1 have fired off alongside me as well, and that's a very, very good stop, I think, for MMG, who might have also been anticipating, John, potentially a caution based on what you were saying with debris on the track.
Yeah, no incidents responsibility applied to that coming together from Preston Brown and Michael Cooper. So there, it's basically play on there as we are coming to the key portion of this first half of the race now, Ryan. How much fuel has Nate Cicero got? And Sean McAllister and Bob Michaelian's done a brilliant job. He's in third, 36 seconds behind, but he's going to be somewhere very close to the hour by the time he comes into the pit lane in that Mustang.
That's the magic number. We're already well past the minimum drive time, so that's out the window. Now it's just about trying to get the fuel as close to that hour mark as you can to maybe cut out a pit stop in this race. Everyone who's pitted so far will almost certainly need an additional stop the rest of the way. Those that are still out there, if they can nurse it a little bit further, then in theory, they could potentially do this on just one stop. So that's really what we're watching here from a strategic perspective. Cicero's done a good job now. He's found the pace again. Remember, McAllister was closing in. It was a second and a half last we checked in. It's now 2.1 seconds once again between the top two.
He got the message, maybe got the phone call. Rafa Racing, their number 12 car, Toyota Supra GR. And that car will have to come back through the pit lane for a second time. It's done its pit stop, and Rafa Martinez immediately answers that call. There were crew over the wall before the car had come to a total halt. That is a slam dunk drive through. Meantime, red, white and black in the pit lane. No, it's not RS1. It's the number 67 CSM Gordon Scully driven car. He brought it in. He'll be handing that car over to his teammate Morgan Burkhardt. So the man from Chicago is out. The man from Charlestown jumps in. And there's a problem for our championship contending Tecumseh car. Oh, they've been going so well lately. That is the Winward Racing AMG GT4. Bryce Ward had done a good job and came in the pit lane. I think they may have been out of their pit stop. Arjuna has this BDO pit lane report as the leader is in the lane as well. Sean McAllister goes to the point for Carbon with Peregrine. The blue Mustang in from the lead.
It's a great stint from Nate Cicero. Only his second IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race, and he led from the front, and a very mature drive, I think, to say the least. Hands over to Jensen Altzman, who, let's not forget, will finish this race and go straight over to WeatherTech qualifying, but a relatively tidy stop so far as the sticker tires go on. I'm going to be very curious, John, if something happens to Winward, because you were just talking about a penalty for a crew member being over the wall. I saw the same exact thing down on that 57 box, and so I wonder if there's maybe a technical issue, but be a penalty coming down as well.
BTL pit lane reporter Arjuna Kankapati just waiting for the VP Racing fuel in the erstwhile leader. Sean McAllister in that grey and highlighted green BMW coming to the pit lane entry now. Does he peel off right-handed? Yes, he did. He's had one more lap. How important might that be? That is nearly 58 minutes for that car. It will take them the better part of a minute and a half to service the car. They are going to be so close to halfway through this race. Also in the pit lane, the number 33 Hyundai, Brian Hurt at Autosport. But I will say that Sam Baker in the lead of TCR is still out there. So Bryson Morris in from second in TCR. Sam Baker up to fifth and has not yet stopped. So Ryan Marine, this might just be the Michelin moment of the race right here, as Carbon have eked out an extra lap at least on everybody else in GS.
Sean McAllister told Arjuna, didn't he, before the start of the race, if he couldn't get the jump on the Mustang at the start, he was going to be content to sit behind, use the slipstream, save a little bit of fuel. And this does get them now as they release to within a minute of the halfway mark. It would take some fuel save. It would caution would really do them. If it was a brief caution, they would be in great position relative to their opposition. And those that have been able to stay out, that Sam Baker stat is really impressive, that he's been able to go longer than anyone else in TCR and be leading. He's also been super fast, so a great combination of speed and fuel economy.
Well, the reason he's leading the race overall now is because Bob Michelin finally comes to the pit lane with 59 minutes elapsed.
Yeah.
Now, this car, by the time it's fueled and down, will be into the second half of the race. Now, they were about half a minute or so down on the leader, but my goodness me, they have put themselves right in contention.
And they sure have. And then to finish it off, it's Billy Johnson. So he definitely knows a thing or two about driving a Mustang fast, and he'll know all the secrets to saving fuel in one of these things too. So that's another car to keep circled. I don't know that there's a whole lot of mystery about it. I think they are as close to good to go as anyone this side of Sam Baker in terms of going the rest of the way on just the single stop.
He was 3 seconds away from the hour when he came out of the pit lane. Absolutely incredible stuff for that car. And now the Baker Audi is in pit lane as well. So Sam Baker was scored as overall leader in the number 52. And they went the longest on their fuel. James Vance getting into that car from Toronto. That's the Baker boys, by the way, from Bowmanville. Yes, that Bowmanville that the racetrack is next to. So they literally are in their own backyard. They'll be sleeping in their own beds tonight. There's something very cool about going to an endurance racing weekend and being able to sleep in your own bed. It's happened very seldom to me. Silverstone and Donington Park, I think, are probably the two closest that I've been able to do it at. The Baker Team LTD car is down and away. The silver and blue car is off and running. VGRT still receiving service as well for Eric Powell. That car also gone to the full hour, so that's put them right back in the conversation as well in that red, white and black number 99. So with all of the first round of pit stops now completed, 58.5 minutes gone, here's the rundown. Car barn with Peregrine. Maybe that was the Michelin moment of the race. Leading, the number 39, Jeff Westphal, has taken over that car, and the fuel save has worked to this point. There may be a lap or two short in that car as it stands now. Matt Plum just 0.8 of a second away in second place. Third for Dylan McAvern has just come back out the pits. We'll give you the accurate gap when he comes back across the line, but for the moment, Team TGM and particularly Ryan Marine, car barn with Peregrine, they have played the cards absolutely perfectly.
Outstanding execution from that pair in the GS class. The McAvern car, remember, had the puncture early, so they definitely will have to do one more stop. They're a bit out of position at the moment, but this all could even up for them if the yellow falls in the right place still in the remaining 57.5 minutes of this race. So don't count them out entirely at this stage. One last fuel nugget for you, John, would be, remember that the first stint does, from a fuel perspective, include a couple of pace laps that you have to account for. So on one hand, maybe you would expect you could go a little bit longer on the second stint, but on the flip side, the race doesn't just end when the clock goes to all zeros. There's always the chance of maybe you get that extra lap, maybe you don't, depending on the timing of when the overall leader comes around. So all of these little things could make a huge difference before it's all said and done.
Two very significant penalties for cars that were at the sharp end of their classes. Billy Johnson in the number 59 Core Motorsport Mustang just put that car's fastest lap of the race. He's not been penalised for the 124.454. Too many crew over the wall considered working on the car. That's a drive-through. That's going to kill them unless there's a full course caution. And worse still, the number 52 TCR, the Baker car, that was a pit lane violation, and they will have a drive-through as well. And in fact, they've already served that. James Vance is out. So MMG, once again, at the lead of the race. Carl Whitmer is going to be a tough man to pass around here. It's the battle of the Canadians in TCR.
But the Whitmer car pitted well short of the hour, which is interesting because Carl told Arjuna that they were thinking they could get to the point where Carl would take over with 58 minutes to go, if I was understanding what he said correctly. They came well short of that. I don't know. I think they're marginal on fuel if we stay green the rest of the way. So that could be the saving grace for the Baker car, who should be okay on fuel based on when they pitted.
Yeah, they're going to drop down behind Mark Wilkins in the number 33 Brian Herter Autosport car that he shares with Bryson Morris. That was the pole sitting car. Mason Felipe has taken over the number 98 that he shares with championship leading, sole championship leader Harry Gottsacker, the man from San Antonio, Texas, down his way next weekend and into the early part of next week. Look forward to going back to Kota. It's the Major League Soccer All-Star game, and I've got a bit of work to do around that. Looking forward to that trip. Jan Halen into the pits for RS1. Did they get a penalty as well, or are they just topping off? We'll send Arjuna down there to find out. I think this is just going to be a top off. Or, oh, they're looking at the right rear. Has he picked up a puncture? No, it's waved away. So this is a top off for RS1. This is significant, Ryan, from when that car came in. So they've decided we're not waiting. We're not going to wait and see if the Corvette, the blue and white Corvette safety car comes out. We're going to fill to the end now. So the number 28, whatever else we know or don't know, the RS1 championship leaders, and I suspect thinking about that championship lead has helped them make that decision as well. They're fueled to the end.
Combination of things, right? On one hand, yes, they have the big championship lead, but also they just haven't had pace or track position here. We said at the very top of the show, didn't we, that they might have to think their way to the front, and that might be what they've just done. There's a line of thinking where you want to be the first to pit last because a yellow here and the rest of the field pitting under that yellow could cycle them up through the field. They wouldn't lose a lap just with that top off there. So I think that might be what they're thinking. They're not going to race their way to the front. Let's try something a little bit different. And worst case scenario, through the strength of their opening 5 races where they've yet to finish off the podium, they've got a little buffer to play with. So that can allow them to be, from a points perspective, a bit more aggressive maybe than they might be otherwise.
And they're going to drop down to somewhere near the bottom end of the top 10 as Billy Johnson comes in to serve the penalty for too many people working on the car. All right, let's give you the rundown again. Car bomb with Peregrine, Jeff Westphal. Marginal but possible to go to the end from here. Matt Plum, Team TGM, no, will have to stop because they came in early to get Matt in the car. Well, not early, but they were on their schedule and on their strategy. But after 42, 43 minutes, they're not going to go from them. Now here comes Matt Plum. Now that's interesting. Matt Plum is on the lane. That's the Jan Halen trigger that has now made everybody ahead of them think, yeah, well, look, if they're going to do it, we're going to have to do it. BDO pit lane report now from Arjuna. They were looking at the right rear of that RS1 Porsche Arjuna, but I think that's purely strategy and fuel to get them to the end of the race. And Jan Halen now on full rich to the end. That's going to be entertaining.
Confirmation. I had a quick chat with Luca Morris as he was just recovering from getting out of the car, and it was the trigger to go to the end and try and push. And so now it's not just them, it's a busy time on pit lane as the 95 comes in as well, and I suspect there might be a couple of other cars that try and cover off this potential move. I'm going to wander back over to Carbon with Peregrine and see what they think about this call from those slightly further off on their strategy calls.
That is exactly what I was thinking, Arjuna. Well done, BDO pit lane mind reading as well. The thing is, here, Ryan, do you stick or twist if you carbon? It won't take that much fuel saving, maybe a lap or two for those guys. They were the last of the guys to make the pit stops in the sharp end of the field. And everybody else behind them now, we think are going to have to pit for at least a splash. That gives them a little bit of breathing space. it'll depend what their fuel numbers are right now, but you've got to think they were trying to go to the end from the hour mark.
I would think so. Yeah, that's the read on it that I had for sure. And they'll be keeping an eye on that fuel number, definitely. We heard, again, Sean McAllister told us before the race that if they didn't grab the lead from the outside of the front row at the start, that they would start thinking about fuel, trying to stretch that opening stint, which they did as well or better than anyone else in the GS class. So, yeah, I think that this is where they want to be. This is the bed that they've made, and they're going to sleep in it from this point out. If they pit here, they give up any advantage that they might have gained by having that long opening stint. And I would say also for them that one yellow and it takes any of the marginality out of the conversation. One yellow and they are definitely good. So I would be surprised to see Westphal follow some of these other front runners in this sequence right here.
Well, and also some of them are shooting themselves in the foot. Here's another front running car that's got a penalty, and that is Team TGN. Too many crew off the wall working on the car. Drive-through. Wheel rotation while elevated. Drive-through. That's 2 drive-throughs. Arjuna telling us they're going to try and appeal the wheel rotation one, but that's pretty black and white as well. So that 46 car, save some kind of intervention from a safety vehicle and a neutralisation, they're out of it. That's 2 pit stops. They're going to fall off the lead lap. Here comes Michael Cooper from 3rd as it stands now. He's making his last pit stop. Robin Liddell follows him in, having cycled up to 4th position. Liddell's going to get a full load of VP Racing fuel, and this was all started off by RS1, Ryan. The championship leaders, in some ways playing the conservative card, but they've set off this domino effect of pit stops.
Right, because what happens is, should there be a yellow, any of these cars that are definitely on the 2-stop strategy would pit under that yellow. That would cycle the RS1 car up ahead of them, and they would cost them track position. So now everybody else has to react who knew that they were going to do it on 2 stops. Those that are considering making it on 1, this is a difficult place for them to be, because they have to figure out how confident are they that they can make it the distance, or how much are they willing to gamble that a yellow could come out. The thing I thought was interesting about the stops we just saw, though, is unlike the other top-offs that we've seen, these cars have run long enough where they were putting fuel in long enough that they could do left-hand tire changes as well. So Michael Cooper and the Ibiza Farms crew electing to put those 2 left sides on, that's a car that's been super fast all weekend. Now they're topped up to go the distance. They don't have to save fuel, and at least the left-hand side of that car, which does the bulk of the work, has some fresh rubber.
Robin Liddell, I think, got 4 Michelin tyres. He certainly got left-hand sides, but I think they did the right even before that. He's dropped down to 13th in class. Look at Jeff Westphal's lap times, though. 24.2 against the 23.9 best. I don't think he's saving fuel. I really don't think he's saving fuel. Maybe the strategy there is track position is king, and it is difficult to pass around here. They go as long as they can, they drive as fast as they can, and they make a very, very short splash and go as close to the end as they absolutely need to. If in the meantime there's a yellow, they recalculate. That's the only thing I can think of for Car Barn at the pace that they're doing at the moment in that number 39 BMW. Let's head down to TCR and find out the strategy plays down there. Sam Baker did a great first run in the car. They've been hamstrung a little bit by a penalty, but that's number 52. Baker Racing Audi with James Vance on board, still in 3rd, and still round about 13 seconds away from Carl Whitmer, who leads the TCR. Here's the BDO pit lane report from Arjun.
It's great to have both the Baker boys in 2 separate Baker Racing entries as well. But Sam, a monster first stint from you. I know there's a tinge of disappointment with the penalty on pit lane for speeding, but how good is it to be able to put that sort of performance together at what is your hometown track?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, I can't thank the Baker Racing team enough, especially the guys on my 52 car. Unbelievable job. The car was on rails. To do it in front of this crowd at this track, it means the world. I mean, even right now, despite what happened to us, seeing 3 Canadians up front, that's what you love to see. You know, you guys come up here, we want to show you guys how it's done. So, phenomenal job by the whole team. It looks like a software issue on our dash. When I came in, I was at 46 kilometers, overslowed, no need to rush, and obviously got the car, got the call, drive through. So, you know, James in the car, especially out here, I have all the confidence in the world. He's going to climb us back to the front. I think he's doing that now. So, yeah, keep going at it.
How nice is it to be able to sleep in your own bed this weekend and then go straight to the racetrack rather than another hotel room somewhere along the way?
I mean, actually, so I live like 3 minutes away, but I opted to stay at the Airbnb. You know, I want to stay with the crew. Can't break routine. We've had some unfortunate results, just some mechanical gremlins getting the best of us, but what we've been doing has been working this year. And in this paddock, that's a tough thing to do. You know, you got to walk around with some real intensity and intent to succeed up here. The guys up front aren't messing around, and neither are we. So, yeah, as much as my bed would be nice and, you know, seeing the dogs and stuff, I decided to stay at the Airbnb.
James and I were talking in that first hour about how running 2 cars, there were some teething issues, but now it's helping you. What's the hope for the rest of the year? I mean, you guys are continuing just to build up and get even stronger.
Yeah, I mean, just keep learning, keep building. We're planning to come back for 2026, and obviously with bigger aspirations next season, but this year's all about seat time, track time for myself, but our pit crew, our strategy team, everyone. So, you know, yeah, end of the year, obviously we want to do well. I'd love to collect some hardware, but ultimately, we're already looking forward to next year, honestly.
Can't wait to see you in 2026.
That car's still in the conversation. New fastest lap from Rebel Rock Racing. Already had the GS fastest lap of the race. Now a 1:23.332. That is a monster lap from Robin Liddell. I think he took 2 tyres. He was on pit lane just 1 minute and 2 seconds. I think he only took 2 Michelin tyres on the left-hand side. I'll get that confirmed by Rebel Rock Racing in a moment. Where is he? He's a lap just off the lead lap, actually, at the moment. So he's going to need some help to get back into contention. But there's a few people at the front of the field who are still with fingers crossed, including Robbie Fawley, Turner Motorsport. He's in 9th at the moment. Winward Racing, Daniel Morads, they were tight. They were in before the hour, 54 minutes, 55 minutes, something like that. Also, the Stephen Cameron Racing Ford Mustang, the number 19 car, and Jensen Altsman, the 13 car. They were all in before Jeff Westphal, and Jeff's got his foot down. I cannot imagine that, I cannot believe that those cars can go. If Jeff Westphal's going at that speed, another 24.5 from Jeff. Monster fuel surf he's doing. Gregory Leafouche behind the wheel of the Stephen Cameron Racing car. We've been used to that car being orange and blue. It's orange and red and purple and fantastic with the Criterion support on that. And here is the 2nd place car into the pit lane, Jensen Altsman. Now this is not a drive-through penalty, and by the way, TGM have had the too many crew over the wall rescinded on that car. This is a splash of fuel for Altsman. No Michelin tyres being offered. They are ready to go. This is a timed stop. They won't even be going back to full here. VP fuel still flooding in through the hoses on the back of the Mustang GT4. Down, off, and away. Oh, there was 2 or 3 seconds there and a stutter, and the car stalled. The car has stalled, and 3 or 4 or 5 seconds there, Ryan, were lost. We'll talk about that in a moment. Let's get down to the pit lane for some more driver thoughts on this extremely interesting Michelin Pilot Challenge race. Here's Arjuna with the BDO pit lane report.
The guys up in the booth were wondering if it was a 4-tire stop or a 2-tire stop for Rebel Rock, and Frank DePue's here with me to confirm. What was it?
4 tires and fuel to the end.
And we saw you come in slightly early to make that change. What led to the strategy call? What did you see in terms of fuel usage, tire usage, to bring you down this path?
Well, I was starting to struggle with the rears toward the end of my stint, so I lost a bit of time, no positions. I came in 11th, but time to the leaders is what really matters, and that wasn't looking great. So we came in at, 40 minutes or so. Robin got in. We knew we couldn't go to the end. A few people are trying a one-stop race, but without a yellow, they're still going to need to fuel save. So, he'd gotten up pretty high in the order, but we knew we had to take on some fuel anyway, so we figured we'd come in, give him fuel, all 4 tires, and let him go for it and just see if, the other people have to start slowing down and everything, and we're cutting through the field. We'll see what happens.
I saw actually action on the track. We'll get back to it. Thanks for the time.
Okay, thank you.
Here is the full course yellow on the back straight. There were 4 cars wide, and there's a big dust cloud. It was 4 tyres. I should have gone with what I thought I saw to start with for Robin Liddell. There's bits of racing wheel waiting for the dust to clear. This is on the run up to turn number 8. And there are multiple cars involved. There's at least 1 car across the track. There were TCR cars involved, and Robin Liddell is one of them. Robin Liddell and Rebel Rock Racing, the left front has been ripped asunder on that car. There's no suspension arm, there's no tyre, there's no wheel, and that has been a big impact. The whole strut's gone on that car. This is absolute manna from heaven for Jeff Westphal. Let's hope all the drivers are okay. Turner Motorsport involved there as well with the 95, I think. And one of the TCR cars as well in there. We'll try and identify all of that. But that is going to be a long yellow. The pits have been closed, of course. Now we wait for news of the drivers. Robin Liddell coasted away on 3 wheels to one of the orange overlaps, so his car is not causing any issues, but there's a huge amount of debris on the circuit, and there's some barrier damage as well on both sides of the Mario Andretti Straight. It's one of the Baker cars that's involved, as well as the 95 Francis Seldorf car. So Robin Liddell and James Vance and Mark Wilkins has been involved as well, and that's significant. That was the pole-sitting car for Bryson Morris, the number 33. So Turner Motorsport, Francis Seldorf, it was the 95 car. Robin Liddell for Rebel Rock Racing. James Vance for the number 52 Sam Baker car. That was the car that was highest up. Steam and smoke and all sorts coming out of the Rebel Rock Racing car from the front of that machine. I think that's just coolant. The door is open, but that's been hit on both sides because both of the mirrors, the door mirrors, are in pieces. Well, maybe I was wrong. No, that looks like smoke under the bonnet. That's a fire. That's an under-bonnet fire, and it's dark smoke. That could well be an oil fire on that number 71 car. That needs to be seen to. Something has ruptured there with what has been a significant accident. We're under full course yellow. Came with round about 40 minutes remaining. And drivers out of the cars. Robin Liddell, I see, out of the car. Hands on hips. He's not happy. The marshals have extinguished what was going on underneath the bonnet, the hood of that Aston Martin. 2 classes of cars there, Ryan, at the highest speed part of the track, just as they're cresting the rise before the turn in to turn number 8, and the witness marks on the road tell us all we need to know. Big damage to the 3-layer arm core on driver's left and on driver's right. That's been a significant impact.
It was a huge impact for the drivers involved, and it had big implications for this race too, because two of the TCR cars, the two that were involved that we've been talking about here, those were two cars running second and third in the race at the time, with Mark Wilkins and James Vance, second and third, and I think side by side, if I'm remembering right. We just got a brief glimpse of it at the time, but I think they could have been battling for position. There was a lot of traffic there, the two classes coming together, and Wilkins in particular, I think, was on the right side of the strategy, and the leader, Whitmer, was not. I think that car, had we gone green, the 33 was in prime position to maybe snag a win here, but instead, their day is done. Same for the Baker Racing car, which had such a strong run as well. And now this yellow, it helps, as you mentioned, the front runners, the Jeff Westphal car, the leader in GS, but it also helps Carl Whitmer, the leader in TCR. Yeah. They pitted on the wrong side of the hour, and the longer this yellow goes, the better position they find themselves in.
Well, it also helps Gregory Leofouge for Stephen Cameron Racing in the Ford Mustang. Daniel Morad yet to make his second stop as well. He's in fourth place for Winward. So all of those guys who hadn't stopped. So it was traffic. They're coming up to the brow of the hill. 3 cars wide. It was the two. It was the Baker car and the 33 of Mark Wilkins who made the first contact. And unfortunately for the Turner Motorsport BMW number 95, they were just trying to pass them at the time. The Baker car going airborne for a moment, and then Robin Liddell was coming through and found the track blocked with dust and dirt, and unfortunately 3 cars ahead of him. Robin, how did the Carbon car get through? How did Carbon get through without being involved in that? And that is incredible that Jeff Westphal, now leading the race, got through there. That is absolutely incredible. He was the next car on the scene. Robin Liddell trying to unlap himself from that car, or hoping for something. This would have been great for him, but unfortunately he didn't pick his way through. And in fact, Jeff Westphal virtually came to a stop and weaved through what was a chicane of carnage in front of him. How he could even see that. Robin Liddell hit the spinning Turner Motorsport BMW. Armco on both sides of the track, massively damaged. I can't see this race going back green. I thought that when we saw it to start with, and now I've seen the severity of the accident. I will be astounded if track services can get both sides of the track in raceable condition before the end of this race. And we've got a full schedule later on today. Incredible moment for Jeff Westphal, already in for the moment of the race, the Michelin moment of the race for their strategy, but picks his way through one of the most violent accidents we've seen in the Pilot Challenge. Let's go down to the Carbon with Peregrine pit now for a BDO pit lane report. He's his teammate and Arjuna. There must have been a sigh of relief there from the guys in the 39 pit. And Sean McAllister, my goodness me, what has he just witnessed there?
I can only imagine the tension that's been going through their minds, looking at some of those shots, just waiting for the confirmation that the car was okay. But Sean, you had a great first stint. We were talking about your fuel saving, and now the kudos is going to your teammate for staying out of that. I mean, what a wild incident, right?
It was very wild. I actually only caught the end of it, so I didn't even know if he was involved in it or not. So I'm just glad to see he's still out there. That was a big one. I hope everybody's okay. But yeah, currently don't know if it's going to restart. Hopefully it does. But where we're sitting right now is really good for us.
You say hopefully it restarts, but hopefully it doesn't restart as well, right? Because you take this win, I'm sure. But a win not gifted to you by any means, right? You guys have earned this win no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But this isn't how you want to win. You want to win on the track without any assistance. So yeah, but we both are doing great. We're both fuel saving like crazy out there. It's never fun to do so. You'd always want to race all out, but right now we're just fuel saving because we're not sure if we're gonna make. We weren't sure. Now we will make it. So yeah.
You answered the question I was about to ask. How close were you on the fuel just before this?
Before this, I was just telling Brian. We were probably just shy of a lap, so we needed to fuel save just about a lap.
Which doesn't sound too bad compared to some of the things that we've been hearing. Now, as you wait for this restart, does your mind start to shift gears to Road America a little bit? Because it's only a couple of weeks away that you guys are racing again.
Well, once I get out of the car, I'm looking towards the next race because I'm not getting back in. But no, yeah, that's basically it. I'm just watching Jeff go, and I know he's got full control. So yeah, we're just hoping for a good win here, then another one for Road America. We're gonna need some help with the BOP because the straight line speed of our car is really bad right now. I was drafting the Mustang and it was still pulling away from me. So I mean, yeah, Road America, it's only gonna get accentuated.
Good effort to save some fuel, even with a car pulling away in front and taking that draft away from him as well. How rude.
Yeah, well, it was going to be tight, as we heard there. Multiple track services vehicles on site for recovery. And the safety barrier repair hasn't even started yet. And this could well impact the rest of the schedule this afternoon. There's still a tyre and wheel on the track as well. It must have been close to a red flag for that incident, as the safety cars picked up the leader, Jeff Westphal, and is weaving through the damaged cars in the pit lane. Robin Liddell, one of the drivers involved, he is certainly out of the car. I'm pretty certain, in fact, no, I am certain I saw Francis Seldorf out of the car. I'll give you the news on James Vance and Mark Wilkins as soon as we have it official. Track services now starting work on the left-hand side arm court with the box fan. That is such a part of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The 95 BMW about to go onto the rollback. The two TCR cars still requiring recovery. There's a long section on the right-hand side of the track of Armcore that is bent and buckled, and the worry will be the wooden posts behind it, on both sides actually, will be whether they are still in good shape. You might say, well, that'll never happen again, but if it's happened once, Ryan, it potentially can happen in the same spot again, and safety has to be the number one concern here for race control and for IMSA and the track itself.
And it is. That's why they'll take their time and make sure that the repairs are done to the fullest extent possible before restarting anything. And I did get a message as well from the IMSA side of things and how they're planning on handling this full course yellow. Right now, they haven't gone ahead and started any of their full course yellow procedures at this point. They're waiting until they get that back straightaway cleared to make sure that that's taken care of before they get into pit lane opening and things like that, which I don't expect it to be a busy place. There are some that went through that debris field, which I suppose could be concerned about a puncture, but they'll be able to monitor tire pressures in real time and be on top of that. But anyway, that's how IMSA's looking at handling this. And I do have to think about two of the cars involved. The 95, the Turner BMW, that was only in this position in the first place because they had the puncture in the first stint, which put them further back than they would have been, and they have to be rueing that. And similar story for the Baker Racing car, which had a miscue in the pit lane that led to a drive-through penalty, and consequently they found themselves in that position where they wouldn't have been ordinarily. So those are a couple of teams that are especially left to rue their misfortune here today.
We'll come back to it in a moment. Report from the team at Turner Motorsport. Francis Seldorf has spoken to them. He's okay. So we can tick that one off, as I thought I had seen him. Well, no, I had seen him out the car, but that's directly from the team. So that now is official. Arjuna will be respectfully asking the teams down in pit lane for our BDO pit lane reports to let us know what they can when they can. No other information at the moment. Our Michelin moment of the race was already going to involve, I think, in GS, Jeff Westphal and Sean McAlee and the rest of Carbon with Peregrine team. My goodness me, they might have double dipped that, because I have no idea. I still have no idea how Jeff Westphal managed to avoid the Baker car up in the air and for the moment on its side. I don't think it went up completely over. No, it didn't. The Turner BMW then spinning in front. Robin Liddell actually overtook the Carbon car one side to try and take the right-hand side, and it would appear that the Turner BMW came back that side and clipped the front of the Aston Martin, which is what ripped the front wheel off. There was a little engine fire that was put out. There was a wee bit of a grass fire as well where the car was parked. Let's pick up a few voices from the pit lane. This is not, at the moment, although we've still got 25 minutes left, this is not helping RS1. They started in 8th position. They are in 10th position at the moment. Jan Halen was good to go to the end. Remember, his pit stop set off the domino effect of everyone else coming in. Here's his teammate Luca Mars with Arjuna in this BDO pit lane report as the pass around has started.
And that was something that we were actually just talking about. The timing of the caution, not ideal for a team that's come into this round, 5 podiums in 5 races in 2025. But Luca, I think given the pace of the car relative to the field here this week, you guys have tried to maximize it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, me, Jan, and the team, we've been doing everything we could. Unfortunately, we just feel like we're handicapped to a point where we're giving it our best, but, you know, sometimes your best isn't always enough, so we'll just keep digging, giving everything we can. If we fall short, we fall short. We'll be back next weekend or next race with our heads down. But we just hope we can get something with for the car, because it's just really hard to out there to race these cars when they're just so much faster than us right now.
Pits are going to be open in GS this time by, but I'm not sure how many of them are actually going to come in. In terms of that strategy call, was there any concern about a potential safety car bringing this exact scenario to the forefront, because race had gone caution-free until this point, which is not something I think many had anticipated.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised with the caution-free my whole stint, and then, you know, obviously that big crash just came out right there, shook things up. So our strategy kind of got shaken off compared to some of the guys who haven't topped off yet. So they were able to stay ahead of us, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's just how it works sometimes. Sometimes it helps you, sometimes it hurts you.
Got to ask you a question, because you're looking pretty drained. Which was harder, Watkins Glen or this in terms of the heat?
Oh, I'd say this one, man. It was absolutely brutal out there at the end. I was just getting scorched out there. I don't know what it was, but I was dying out there at the end. They said 5 laps till we pit. I was like, thank God, I need that.
Makes me feel a little bit better that I'm sweltering as well. Thanks for the chat.
Well, here's the strategic calls. Teams that weren't perhaps in with a chance of a victory, they're banking on it going green again, as AR Motorsports and Turner Motorsports and Unitronic are coming in for fuel and a 4-tyre stop here, Ryan. This can only possibly be that they think that we will get back to green, and they're giving their drivers the best possible opportunity. As Robbie Foley exited, they've given up track position. They will be put back on the back of the GS line. So basically what they're saying is, we put a fresh set of Michelins on, we'll have a grip advantage, we may have a performance advantage, and let's see if we can race to the front should we go back great.
Exactly. I think for Mikey Taylor and for Thomas Merrill in particular, they really didn't give up much in terms of position. Robbie Foley did surrender a couple of positions, but frankly, Turner's not here to finish 7th, 8th, or 9th. There's really no loss in going in, giving up a couple of spots. This way, they have a chance to go and fight. That car really hasn't been there on pure pace so far throughout the weekend. So I think it's a roll of the dice worth taking at this stage. But the risk they run is that they gave up those positions, and we do still have some barrier repair to attend to. And that has to be done then in the next, well, short amount of time. I mean, 21.5 minutes in order to get it in before the race ends, but they need to get it done as soon as possible so they have as much time as possible to take advantage of that fresh rubber.
Yeah. And still running through dirt, potential carbon fibre shards as well on the back straight. That will be a concern for everybody. They've got the track sweepers out further round the track, but at the point of impact, there's still a lot of tyre debris, dirt from the side of the track, small bits of stones and all kinds of debris there, just on and near what would be the normal racing line. Don't forget we had wheels pulled off cars and disintegrated parts there. Now the safety vehicles have left the scene. We still have two very damaged parts of Armco. I wonder if we're just going to get round to a point in the race where full points can be awarded before we call this to a close, because I cannot imagine us going back green with the Armco in that situation. It's been looked at, but it is bent and not at a perpendicular angle to the ground. In the pit lane for Rockwell Auto Developments, 2 front Michelin tyres for their Audi. And that's Bruno Colombo bringing that car in. Let's go to Macumbi Makalia Racing. Nate Cicero, what a great run from him, handed over to Jensen Altsman. They're in 6th at the moment. And the Ford Mustang GT4 in with a shout. If we go back to green flag racing, let's find out from Nate, who had that great opening stint.
Let's ask him about that opening stint as well. First time you've rolled at the front of a IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge race in only your 2nd start. How was that feeling of controlling the field coming to green?
Yeah, it was a great feeling, just being able to cruise in our number 13 Vervantis Ford Mustang. Car felt awesome the whole stint, was able to fuel save as much as we needed to. And yeah, we're going to see how the race plays out.
We're just wondering strategy-wise, I think the extra pit stop hasn't exactly helped, but how do you evaluate how the race has gone prior to the caution flying?
Yeah, I think we were in a really good spot. Our car's been super fast. I think it would have come to us. It was just everything that we have to look at post-race. Hindsight's always a great thing, and I hope everyone's all right from that incident. Yeah, that was a pretty big one, but we'll see how we end up.
What do you think Jensen can do from here? Sounds like if we do get started, it's going to be probably a short restart, so maybe a feisty couple of laps for him to work his way through.
Yeah, I think Jensen's going to be super fast. Our car's super fast, so hopefully we can make up a couple spots and get onto that podium. That would be absolutely incredible.
And how are you feeling for the MX-5 race later today?
Feeling good. I'm also starting for pole, or on pole on that race, so try and control the race like we did. I don't think that's possible with the draft that we have in that series and the super intense racing. So I think we have a good car though. MMR, providing amazing cars for everyone this weekend. So I'm gonna try and win that one.
Good luck.
PDO pit lane report there with Arjuna, and incredibly, after a huge conflagration on the back straight involving 4 cars, Mark Wilkins, Brian Hurt at Autosport, Hyundai Elantra, James Vance, Baker Racing, those were the 2 that got together to start with and caught up with Turner Motorsport, Francis Sheldorf, Robin Liddell coming upon the scene at full speed as well in his Aston Martin. Jeff Westphal somehow avoided it, and incredibly we are going to go back to green for somewhere near 16 minutes of racing to the end. Still all kinds of debris and dirt on the back straight at the scene of the incident. We have had some blowers out there. We'll have to see how that part of the track races. Also 2 damaged pieces of Armco. And so now Jeff Westphal, freed from having to fuel save, has Stephen Cameron Racing's Gregory Leofuge behind him, and then Matt Plum for Team TGM has got a terrible start, and he's being passed by a couple of drivers as they go across the line. Daniel Morad's in that scrum. There's a few cars that are out of position, but Plum manages to get back to the head of that little part of the field as we restart in TCR. It's MMG and Carl Whitmer who leads it out. There's a couple of lap cars in there who didn't come back to the pit lane. So one of them is Robert McGuinness for CSM in the number 2 Porsche. So there's all kinds of a mix-up there, but at the front of the field, the top 3 are running as the top 3 on the roads. MMG Honda from Brian Herder Autosport, Mason Filippi and Tyler Gonzalez in 3rd place. And a touch on the number 46, and that's Matt Plum out of 3rd place. He got bumped around at Moss Corner, and the whole field has to go around, and they're avoiding him either side. Matt finds reverse to get out of the way. That was a good move. Now Daniel Morad might have beat the car next up, I'm not sure. And there's bodywork now flying on the back straight. More debris on the back straight. This will be another safety car, as one of the Hyundais is in strife there, with bodywork flying and a right rear puncture, or at least some tyre rub there, as there was a check-up and the bodywork's being pushed onto the back of the car. Huge bit of bodywork flying in the air. Now, has that landed on the track? The Rafa car has stopped. This will be another full course yellow. This was the number 12 for Rafa Martinez, the Toyota GR Supra, and he's moving again. Can he struggle round to the pit? We might be able to stay green if that big piece of undertray or whatever it was has fallen off the track on the back straight. Restart, all kinds of trouble going on, and it was one of the TGM cars, I think, that ran into the back of Rafa Martinez on the exit of turn 1. We had the Ibiza farm cars going off as well. Lapped cars in with the restart there. We split the field, Ryan, but of course nobody pitted from GS, and it was the 59 Billy Johnson Core Motorsport car who tipped Matt Plum around. That'll be a penalty for that Ford coming. That's an easy one. So an absolute chaos on the restart, with those lapped cars mixed in with the cars battling for position.
Yeah, it was wild, and Rafa Martinez, I think that contact from the rear with one of the TGM cars, couldn't tell if it was 46 or 64, but I think that may have cut down the right rear, which caused him to spin.
Yeah.
Looks like he was able to limp away into the pit lane, so we do stay green, crucially, with under 14 minutes to go. A couple of penalties, the only one of any consequence. Thomas Merrill had to do a drive-through penalty for a pit lane infraction of some description, and another one was headed to the 72, but that car is already out of contention, I believe. I'll have to follow up on that. But Larry Pegram has just served that penalty.
I believe it was Hugh Plum who was the car that pulled the back of the Supra. Meantime, at the front of the field, it is still Jeff Westphal who's pulled away by 3 seconds. Hasn't affected the first 3. Everything else is going on behind. Gregory Leofug in 2nd place for the Ford Mustang. And then there's a little bit of a gap back. The battle is all going on around Jan Halen, who's got the Ibiza Farm Motorsports car there. He's got Mikey Taylor there as well. Now, they're battling for 8th, 9th and 10th, but there is a lapped car in there as well again. And this is what's been causing the problems. And I'm looking to see where Daniel Morad is. He's managed to get through to 3rd. He's only a second or so away from Gregory Leofug. He could win this. Remember, they have only stopped once as well. That was a close to the hour stop. The top 3 have all only stopped once. Daniel Morad, with that car's fastest lap of the race, is now in contention in TCR. Carl Whitmer leads by about 2 seconds from Victor Gonzalez. Racing with Tyler Gonzalez, no relative. And then in 3rd place, the number 33. And this is incredible news for that number 33 car. They've been up and down the field. They looked like they were out of it at one stage. That's the pole-sitting car. Bryson Morris started it.
I think you might
check that. My
to,
apologies.
Yeah.
No, check that. Sorry, I've got that the wrong way around. My apologies. That's the number 7 car next up. The 33 car was the car involved. Mark Wilkins in that shunt. My apologies. Well, what a topsy-turvy race. We've been green for an hour and 20 minutes. And Billy Johnson will get another penalty for Core Motorsports, third time through the pit lane. Contact and incident responsibility with multiple cars at turn 7. Oh no, that is the incident. Sorry. So Billy Johnson is getting his drive-through for the number 46. Penalties coming thick and fast. Is off the circuit for not the RS1 car. It's the other red, white, and black machines. Let me finish this for a moment and see if we can actually get a thought out. Mikey Taylor's got a drive-through. He'll drop out at 10th position, but I don't think he'll lose too much ground there. That was an unattended tyre in the pit lane. Billy Johnson gets the penalty for contact with the TGM car at turn 5, and it is the number 33 that gets the penalty. Incident responsibilities for the cars at turn 7. Now that car's out of the race, so I wonder what they're going to do for that, whether that will carry on. We've seen that kind of consequence be penalised before very, very harshly. 5-minute stop and holds. Incredible stuff. Turn 7, further penalties will be subject. Okay. Wow, let's take a breath for a moment then and assess what is going on. We mentioned the Michelin moment of the race a couple of times earlier on. Car bomb with Peregrine at the moment, surely in pole position for that, for their strategy, and also for Jeff Westphal avoiding that accident. I'll take any others in GS from my two colleagues in a moment, but first TCR moment of the race as we stand with 10 minutes to go. Ryan, what do you reckon?
It seems to me that the moment of the race was that big incident that brought out the full course yellow, because it opened up the possibility that Carl Whitmer could go the distance on fuel. They were definitely short prior to that yellow. The length of that yellow meant that they were good to go. So, I mean, yes, we're kind of repeating ourselves, but it's hard to look beyond the big crash there, because the implications have filtered down through both of the classes and even have championship implications as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking at Bruno Junqueira, who's up to 4th for the second of the Baker cars, the remaining Baker car. That car, remember, was running at the bottom end of the top 6, then had a penalty, dropped them out of contention. They fought themselves back. MMG, they've ruled the strategy card. Is that the moment of the race? Was it that fantastic pass that we saw earlier on? We'll make our decision in the next 8.5 minutes. Arjuna, feel free to jump in either on the talk back or indeed on air as to what your moments of the race were. Okay. Billy Johnson in the pits for his second drive through. And another incident under review. This is Winward, 57, along, that's the second place car, along with the two other cars, number 19 of Stephen Cameron Racing and the number 67 as well, which was in the mix in that group. That was the CSM Porsche. That was at the final corner. That was at White's corner when the red, white and black CSM car was pushed off the track. Now that is going to be massive if that goes the wrong way for Winward Racing, because at the moment they're in second position and gaining, not a lot, but gaining on the leader. Wow.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's how second place changed hands there. Sorry for jumping on you, John, but yeah. Greg Leofouge was in second, and he and Morad and McAleer all have swapped positions, and that happened right around the time that this incident that's being reviewed seemed to take place. So I think that's how we had that shuffle up behind Jeff Westphal that has allowed Morad up to second, and it's cost Leofouge a couple of spots, but I didn't get a good look at what actually led to it. So we'll have to let race control sort that one out here in the final 7 minutes.
Also, Tom Merrill's been penalised for the incident that put the Pegram Racing Hyundai 72 and Larry Pegram into the pits. And here it is, drive-through for the second place car. Daniel Morad, Winward Racing. That will promote Stephen McAleer to second, Gregory Leofuge to third, and Jensen Olsman is just 0.6 of a second off the podium at the moment. In fact, that might change right now because Robbie Fawley, remember, put 4 tyres on and filled up. Is this the GS moment of the race? As Turner Motorsport assessed the potential for going back to racing perfectly well, and that 96 car has got a huge performance advantage in their tyres on every car ahead of them. Time is not on their side, but here comes Turner Motorsport, already up to 5th, net 4th. Now let's see what happens down the inside for Morad. He wasn't quite there, he was nearly there, but nearly's not there. Hit the Leofuge car, which then cannoned into the CCM Porsche, which ended up on the grass. And here comes Daniel Morad. Might have been a bit late getting down to the pit lane speed limit now, but any chance of a good finish gone now with just 5 minutes to go. It's all about Robbie Fawley. He's going to get on the podium. He's got a Ford Mustang and 2 BMWs ahead of him. There's a third, possibly even a second, in sight for that car. And that drive-through puts Gregory Leofuge back on the podium as well. Let's have a quick BDO pit lane report with Arjuna.
The Autotechnic Racing crew have had a couple of top 5 finishes, but on course right now for a podium. I'm here with Austin Cranes. Austin, how's it feeling right now? You said your job was to give your teammate a good car. It seems like you've done that.
Yeah, you know, I gave him a good car. Thankful that Autotechnic gave me a great car this weekend. Steven's doing phenomenal. I did my job. I just stayed with the lead pack, and Steven's doing his job, and he's going to hopefully bring it home for us on the podium. So looking forward to that.
Thank you.
So, Carbon, Autotechnic, BMW, Stephen Cameron Racing with a door that does not appear to be at all in any kind of state to stay on, quite remarkably. Is that going to be another drama? Robbie Fawley gaining 1:23.7. He's half a second quicker than the cars ahead. He's only 6.5 seconds away from the leader, but I think that's out of reach with just a couple or 3 laps to go. But he's going to have a chance of a podium finish here, and Turner Motorsport might be sneaking the moment of the race here by deciding to give up some positions during that, when that pit opened after the big accident on the back straight. Magnificent stuff. How did they know we were going to go back to green? Everything else that was going on. Where's your money going right now? Here comes the BMW dragging up to the back of the Ford Mustang. We know it's quick. The right-hand side door hanging off for Gregory Leofuge. There's a big gap between it. That is not going to be helping the aero at all. There's 4 or 5 inches. I can see the inside of the top of the door and the door frame on that Mustang. I don't think it's the catch. I just think it's the top of the door that at speed is catching the air. 2 laps to go as they come across the line. It will be the white flag next time around. 5 miles, 8 kilometers, 3rd place on the line. Turner Motorsport putting themselves in the conversation for the Michelin moment of the race for GS. Is there a Gregory Leofuge rearguard action that can keep Robbie Fawley back? Is there going to be a signature Fawley move? We know the BMW is very good on this change of direction between 8 and 9. Is that where he'll set the Mustang up? He doesn't have the straight line speed, there's no doubt about that. And ahead, Stephen McAleer as well is not that far out of reach. Oh, brilliant wide line by the Turner BMW and by Robbie Fawley. He's right in the slipstream, using the draft. Jensen Olsman is the next Mustang back, but he's not on terms. White flag this time by for Westphal. What a race they've run. Car bomb by Peregrine. What a piece of avoidance by Jeff Westphal. That was the moment of his race, no doubt about that. Here it is, one more chance after this. Does he swing to the inside now and go down into White's corner? No, he does not. He's got one more chance to do it. He's right on the tail now as they start the last lap. He'll go on the right-hand side. The Mustang moves across to block, but it's down the inside for Robbie Foley. He's going to be calling blocking on that one. The Mustang moving after he'd gone across into that lane. There's one more lap to go here. Michelin moment of the race hanging on this battle. Is it already enough to give Turner, because of their brilliant strategy? Was that the moment? We've got half a lap to find out. In TCR, Carl Whitmer has pulled out 2.5 seconds on Victor Gonzalez Racing. In third place, Ryan Eversley is on the podium at the moment, but barely, as Baker Racing's Bruno Junqueira is all over the back of the Audi. And the two Audis then battling for the last step on that box. Carbon are going to win it. It's going to be Auto Technic Racing in second. Here comes Carbon. Did the fuel save in the first half of the race. The race has come to them. They're going to win it. Through to the final corner. An unmarked car, somehow, amazingly, out of the dust and debris. They've won it. Here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Stephen McAleer is in second, and it will be Gregory Leofouge and Stephen Cameron Racing in third. But what a drive for Robbie Foley, back to fourth position. In TCR, it's back-to-back wins for Montreal Motorsport Group. The Honda is victorious over the Hyundais and the Audi. The celebrations begin. Michelin moment of the race in GS. Jeff Westphal avoiding the accident and keeping the lead. And in TCR, it has to be also the winners. That's unusual. Montreal Motorsport Group taking their chances with Carl Whitmer bringing it home. Some honourable mentions for Baker Racing in fourth and Turner Motorsport in fourth in their class. Let's go down to our BDO pit lane reporter who has the winning teams.
I'm down here with Sean McAllister, who's also got a checkered flag in his hand to greet the cars as they work their way down pit lane. Sean, congratulations. A second win for the team, of course, after the victory at Sebring. How are you feeling? On top of the world, I'm sure.
On top of the world, and we got so many valuable points back. So this puts us right back in the championship. I can't wait.
And Road America in a couple of weeks' time, so like we were saying, you don't get a chance to breathe. You're straight back into action.
Nope, right back to Cheeseland. I can't wait. It's going to be a good time there. I love Road America. I've raced there almost every year in my career, so yeah.
And he's, like I said, got a checkered flag in his hand to greet the cars as they roll their way down pit lane, John.
Wow. Ryan Marine will get the unofficial results in just a moment. Your thoughts on what we've seen in that last, 15 minutes, and certainly the last 3 or 4 laps there. What a drive back by Turner. What a drive back by Baker, and wins that were somewhat a gamble in TCR and in GS.
No question, and the gamble paid off here today for Carbon. It's their second win of the season, and it gets them, I would say, in the championship conversation now. They came in 390 points out, but it was not a great day for RS1, the championship leaders. They finished 9th. Jensen Alsman, who was second in points, finishes 5th. So a lot of points gained for them, but I'm fascinated by that final podium battle in GS. Greg Leofouge and Sean Quinlan, just their second podium as a tandem in Michelin Pilot Challenge. And the first one came nearly 3 years ago. It was August 6th, 2022. They were runners-up at Road America. That's how long they've waited to stand on a podium in this championship. And that's why Leofouge was so desperate to hang on.
just taking a breath and trying to take it in, to be honest. Unofficially then, BMW first and second for Carbahn and Autotechnic, with a brilliant rearguard action for Gregory Leofouge in third position. Robbie Foley, Vin Barletta, they gave up positions. You know, another couple of minutes, another couple of laps, it might have been a podium, it might have even been a second place for the number 96 car. Altman and Cicero didn't go their way at the end. They didn't have the tyres to fight off Robbie Foley. And then it was the number 44 of Ibiza Farm Motorsport. In 11th position, Carl Whitmer wins in TCR, the back-to-back victory for the Montreal Motorsport groups. Carl Whitmer, Jim, and LP Montour winning in Canada for the two Canadians. Victor Gonzalez Racing salvaging a second for the number 99 car. And Ryan Eversley and Pelfo Neto in the Audi in third, just ahead of a charging Bruno Junqueira at the end when the second Baker car looked out of it at one point. See above comment as well for the number 76 in fifth position. Brian Hurd at Autosport. The Denny DuPont car was spun around and had to fight their way back. There's plenty of redemption stories in the last quarter of that race. Down below the 20, people who had problems or who didn't get the rub of the green. And of course, as we get down to the bottom of the top 30, 4 cars that didn't finish. Brian Hurd at Autosport, number 33 for Mark Wilkins, James Vance for Baker Racing, and the 52, Francis Seldorf in the 95, Robin Liddell in the Aston Martin, number 71, and incident responsibility given to James Vance with a potential of more sanction to come. Let's get back to Arjuna with this BDO pit lane report.
Carl Whitmer and LP Montour are about to celebrate. Montour has just pulled his car in towards victory lane, and so as they get out and celebrate, John, I'll just take this moment before I go and pull the drivers aside. A very popular victory for the Canadians, of course, as they grab a victory here, and back-to-back wins for MMG in their distressed livery, as we've called it on occasion. And the first thing LP does, he gets out of the car, throw up the Canadian flag. I'm sure they'll be very happy about this victory. Let's see if I can grab at least one of them. LP, congratulations on that win. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, feeling great, winning at our own track, our home. This is our family. It's all Canadian people cheering on us right now. Can't be happier than that.
And back-to-back wins as well, right? You guys are really figuring out this car midway through the season.
Yes, we are. We got a great team behind us. You know, it's like hard-working crew. Hats off to them.
And Carl and LP are about to be stolen by TV, John, so I'll let them go. But a very, very popular win, to say the very least.
Good to see Dai Yoshihara's name still on that car as well. The master of sideways driving and really loving his racing as well. That is an extremely popular victory here, of course. Well, write the headline for that one, Ryan Marine. I bet you're pleased you don't have 1,000 words to describe what went on that Ensign magazine or website.
Yeah, in another life, that was my job, and I'm glad I don't have that one here today, because you're right, that would be a difficult one to try and summarize. So many stories to come out of this. We mentioned that crash had big championship implications. It helped Westphal and McAllister get to the end. It helped Whitmer and Montour get to the end, and for them, winning, it's their second straight win. That should put them in the TCR points lead at this point. And one weird statistical note that I've noticed for Whitmer and Montour, when they have finished races this year, they have been on the podium every time. They've had a couple of DNFs, but outside of those DNFs, they have been on the podium every single race this season and are stacking those points together. And they're doing it in a big way at a big time, because Harry Gonsacker, the points leader coming in by a narrow margin, finished 8th today. Denny DuPont and Preston Brown, they came in 2nd in points. They finished 5th today. So this is a big jump for the MMG guys to get that spot. A couple of other TCR notes. The VGRT number 99 crew, Eric Powell, Tyler Gonzalez, their second straight runner-up finish, putting a lot of misfortune early in the season behind them. This is a nice run of form for them. And second podium of the season here today for Neto and Eversley. They were on the podium at the season opener in Daytona, hadn't been on the podium since, so this is one that they can celebrate. Really good execution for LA Precision Racing.
Thank you to Ryan and to Arjuna, our video pit lane reporter from here in the Ford Performance Global Broadcast Centre. We're about to wrap up. I will leave you with the news that's just come through from Race Control that Mark Wilkins in that number 33, we said that he would likely be subject to more sanction. It's a stop plus 60. I presume that will move on to the next time that car is in IMSA competition. We'll get some clarity on that. So that is incident responsibility, starting that multiple car accident on the back straight, on the Mario Andretti straight, which brought out the race-defining full course yellow and wrote off 4 cars. In historical precedent, I think that is getting away lightly. We've seen stop plus 5 for 1 car getting damaged in the past. I think that was Mid-Ohio in this series a few years ago, a car that was tapped and turned into the barrier there, and that was a stop plus 4 or 5 minutes, I seem to remember. That's 3 cars out of the race there for the number 33. I know it's not the consequence that is penalised, but that stop and 60 will move on to the next race. We'll find out how that will be applied next time out. My very great thanks to all of our marshals, track support workers, clean-up crews, recovery, and of course the EMR safety crew who worked hard to get us back under green flag conditions, to my co-commentators, and of course to the technical team on site in Concord and in London. It's been brilliant. But this is not the end of Super Saturday. Stay with us on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. It's qualifying for the IMSA WeatherTech SportsCar Championship next on 90.7 FM here at the track and around the world on RS2 Plus in sound and vision. I'm John Hindhaugh. Bye for now.